Hello there, welcome to Tech and Cash. I hope you are doing well. Today's video is dedicated to the one and only Scare of Birds. So this is going to be a post-game review of one of the games that I played a while ago. So this was the final game for a tournament. It was the best of 5 bracket, and this was the very last game. Yeah, don't really remember much about this game other than I remember it being quite a good game. It is a little bit long, that's why it took me a while to decide to sit down and do the review here. But yeah, let's take a look at the starting hand here. So bird counter bonus card, that's interesting. So we have the starling, the bunting, both would satisfy bird counter. Yeah, either starling or the bunting are definitely good wetland option here. And then the nuthatch for the forest. Also I was going second here. And I saw the tray has a bee eater that my opponent is gonna pick up that. So yeah, that is not gonna work, bunting and snow bunting, because that requires 5 foods. I think alternatively bunting and starling would work. So I can play bunting in the grassland and then get a food to play starling in the wetlands. So that would be a pretty quick start there. Yeah. The only downside of bunting, especially in a 2-player game, is that if the feeder gets stuck, then you're just kind of stuck with, yeah, the bunting in the grassland, and it's a pretty expensive investment, right? 3 food, and somehow if your opponent is not rolling the feeder, then yeah, then you're not gonna get food the whole game. Nothing else in the tray that looks promising. So yeah, again, very tempting. Bunting and starling would be a quick start, and then the combo that I considered earlier was the nuthatch, starling, and snow bunting. So also this would give me 3 cavity nests as well for first end of round go, so that would be pretty good. That would be too greedy. Yep. That is also reasonable, but not ideal because, yeah, I guess I can play the nuthatch and then grab food once and then play the snow bunting. So that would be a pretty solid start as well. I think I wasn't necessarily keeping the bunting here to play. Maybe I was thinking spending one of the card to get the food that I need to play the snow bunting. I quite like keeping the starling here, because that would be good for second end of round go as well. It's not the best start, but I would say it's an interesting start. So my opponent picked up the bee eater, no surprise. I think another thing that I like to do when, you know, I'm going second and the tray is not particularly exciting, I don't think it's a bad idea to keep more birds from the hand, so that you can play out your round 1 and wait for a new tray in round 2 so you can get a fresh pick. So yeah, I think that was probably what I was thinking there. It seems like I was going for a slow start here, just plan out my birds, play out my birds so that I'll be ready going into round 2 to pick up a fresh tray, while at the same time, you know, having some kind of wetland setup and forest setup here, so not bad. And with 3 cavity nests, definitely feeling pretty confident with the first end of round go here. Alright, so again, going pretty slow here. Could have spent the grain from the nuthatch to play the starling, but really feeling like there's not much I want to do in round 1. I don't want to draw cards because the tray is not great. Yeah, so I like the plan of just play out the bird and get ready for round 2 here. I would say looking at this round 1, it's not bad, you know. Again, have the wetland forest setup, looks like winning first end of round go, and the bird counter, additional point from the bird counter definitely help, you know, make sure to, you know, I have some points on the board. But looking at my opponent board here, that's definitely a very strong board as well, right? They have the yellow throat wetland, which is great, and then bee eater for food in the grassland, and on top of that, looks like they found the American robin as well, for the grassland. So they're building a pretty strong grassland there. So yeah, I guess the blackbird, you know, with the bird counter, it will be quite good. Not that I have a huge, I will have a very good access to birds here, but maybe if I play the pie-bill grebe, I can get quite a bit of cards, and then I can tuck cards that I don't need to play under the blackbird. Yeah, pie-bill grebe is a tricky one. Ideally, you want to get it out in round 1 or as early as possible, because, you know, playing a 0-point birds, and like you see here, I spend a turn to pick it up, and then I have to pick up food, and I have to play it. That's like quite a few turns to play a 0-point birds, and you have to spend an 8. So you're really not gaining points, and then at the same time you are, you might not get too much of it. And then the feeder also kind of got, oh, I guess no, if I wanted to play the pie-bill grebe, I could pick up the fish here. I guess the option is either play the pie-bill grebe or play the blackbird, using the seed on the nuthatch, and that will allow me to keep digging for a little bit. Yeah, I think the key here is I need to keep digging for a little bit, and I'm not sure playing the pie-bill grebe is a good choice here. Again, like I say, 3 turns for 0-point birds. Too much investment. Even though playing the blackbird also cost me points because I have to pay 1 egg, and the grain from the nuthatch is worth 1 point as well. So but I guess what I'm saving is turns, so try to think about turn as a resources as well. Yeah, and with the blackbird, it allows me to dig for a little bit. So I think they pick up the still, which makes sense because they have the bee eater to get grub, and that allows them to use the grub from bee eater to play the still to gain more cards. So yeah, looks like I'm giving up on the pie-bill grebe there, the 0 points. Dunnock is interesting because my opponent running a grassland here, so Dunnock could potentially be a counter there, but things are still looking kind of dicey. Ooh, like that rough. Another tucking bird, so that's good for my bonus card and help me to cycle some of this card that are not so great in my hand. I think I was definitely thinking whether to pick up the Hawfinch or not because I have the food. I can play and really accelerate my force a little bit. But again, that would cost me 2 grain that has been cashed and pay 1 egg, so that's like 3 points to play that Hawfinch. But good tempo though, having that second forest bird. Yeah, things do looking pretty dicey here. Again, especially my opponent, right? Getting 4 points a turn in their grassland and then getting food. It's interesting that they play the Gnatcatcher for 1 point. Feels a bit of a slow move there. Mainly looking at their supply, they still have quite a few different food like fish and grain, and then they can gain grub from their bee eater. It's interesting that they decide to play the Gnatcatcher for 1 point. But maybe they do have big point birds that they want to get down, so alright, looks like I'm deciding whether to play the Dunnock or the Ruff. So there are only 3 turns left. So if I want to play the Ruff and the Dunnock, I gotta do it now. And looks like I am deciding whether to play the Dunnock or the Ruff. I think in this situation probably going with the Ruff because I really need some card to turn this game around. Yeah, the setup is fine, but it's not great. I don't see like a strong late game here, so I think being able to stick through and see through some cards would be quite helpful. So yeah, I think lightly we'll go with the Ruff here, and then maybe draw a card 1 more time to get enough card for tugging with the Ruff. Feeling pretty good about winning the second end of round goal here as well. Alright, so they gain food, so they gotta have some big point birds that they want to play. Ooh, that's interesting. I did not see that coming, kinda. Yeah, that was in consideration, but looks like I'm gonna delay Ruff here. And gaining food? Okay, that 2 turns was a bit weird. I didn't really... Yeah, I wasn't sure. The Dunnock... Interesting. And let's take a look. Okay, maybe I get 3 points from this round and more points later. Yeah, that was interesting. Not sure if I would still do the same again. I kind of like the Ruff to help me to cycle cards. And looks like... Yeah, I gain food there just to make sure I get an additional tug with the Starling to win the end of round. Yeah, maybe we have gone with Ruff. Alright, Trey looking pretty good for my opponent here, right? So they have the Blue Throat they can play, they have the Grackle, very strong. Interesting trade now again, Wood Duck. Is it worth it to pivot to Wood Duck this late? Not sure, but also don't want my opponent to get the Spoonbill. That, you know, for big points and bonus card. Yeah, even now looking at this hand, not really clear to me where this game is going. My opponent's setup is getting better and better, and now what do I have? I can't really keep running that wetland there because it's really only 2 points. So maybe I gotta pivot to wood duck. That's a round 3 wood ducks. That's so very slow. Ooh, my opponent played the stilt. That's interesting. I guess I would have played the... what was that? The other food bird, and then play the stilt. Yeah, this is not looking good, I would say. So, like drawing card is like 1 point. That's pretty bad. But neither that shift shaft. I guess I do have quite a bit of cards that I can tug if I decide to commit to shift shaft in the forest. Very interesting. Okay, they lay eggs again. But they didn't get the grub, so that's unfortunate. I think they needed that grub to play Blue Throat. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I think they should have played Blue Throat and then lay eggs to get the still. That would be guaranteed. So now they missed the grub from their bird, from their bee eater, so they couldn't play the Blue Throat there. This is very dicey. I clearly don't like. I really don't see where this game is going. Again, I got a lot of tugging birds, so that is helpful. The chaffinch and the ruff, potentially I can make up some of the points from my bonus card. Yeah. And then the fur bird feeder really bad now, but likely it's gonna get refreshed soon. Once my opponent play their beater. I think I'm probably contemplating to force down the wood duck as well, with all my food. Again, not sure if that's ideal. That's a lot of points that I'm losing playing that wood duck, but it can potentially help me to gain food and gain card, and start building some momentum there. I think chaffinch is probably the least investment in terms of like I spend a grain and an egg, and that's made up by the bonus card points, so it's still a 4 points play, but at the same time allows me to gain food. Yeah. Really need my opponent to roll the feeder here. Yeah, I don't know where this game is going. It's not looking so good. Mainly my opponent's setup is just very strong there with their grassland. I guess I do have the bunting and Dunnock that offset their grassland points a little bit, so 2 points. So let me think. So if you have 3 eggs and 2 tugs, that's 5 points. And then if I gain 2 points, they're still netting, you know, 3 points in a grassland. That's infinitely better than my engine. Like, I don't really have engine. I guess I kind of have a forest engine here, but that's not very sustainable with the chaffinch. Okay. Again, interesting that they pick food again. I guess that they're getting ready to win the end of round goal here, or to pressure me by picking up food, because I think they could have also just lay eggs to get a grub and then play the Blue Throat. I feel like tempo wise that would be quite efficient. Yeah. Looks like they're kind of gung-ho about winning this end of round goal. And in terms of my case, the feeder is still not ideal because I do not need any of those rodent here. And then I'm faced with difficult decision whether to even tug with the chaffinch. Undecided on the Ruff. The Ruff, I think it might still be worth it, because with 2 rounds I can potentially still get 6 points, and with bird counter, I think the only problem is there's no grub. There's no grub in the feeder, so that makes it difficult. Yeah, and feel like I'm being kind of caught in a standstill here with the 3rd end of round go here. Looks like I was trying to pick up food to pressure my opponent to see what their move is gonna be. Do they play bird or do they keep hoarding food? And I don't know. I mean, there's definitely a bigger opportunity cost there for my opponent here, because each of their grassland activation was 3 points. So every time they're not activating that grassland, they have to make up that 3 points from somewhere. Alright, looks like they ran the grass in here. Okay, there's a bunch of cherry, but probably wood duck here. There's no way I can play that wood duck that late. Surprise, surprise. Okay. Again, very interesting situation here. I think that's still a possibility for me to win the round goal if I pick food twice. The question is it worth it? So I pick food twice, that's 9 food potentially if I spend 2 cards. Yeah. Otherwise, do I have better options? I have to pick food here anyway, because the food that I had is not good enough to play the bird that I want to play. I need a grub to play the flycatcher and the greater prairie chicken. So right, yeah, I just need to continue to pick up food anyway. Yep, saving card for tugging here with my bunting. So lately I'm looking at playing the scissortail flycatcher for big points, and then the greater prairie chicken. Yeah, this doesn't look like a very great setup, but I must say I feel like my opponent was playing some slow move there as well, picking up food and playing the gnatcatcher. That was interesting. But my end game here really is not looking too great. Like, I can play 2 birds. I probably have to draw cards again, and then my grassland is not an engine, so yeah, just kind of interesting. But now looking at my opponent board on just a glance, it's not looking like, you know, too good either. As in, like, it's pretty good, but I was expecting better given the birds and the setup. Yeah, it was interesting that they delayed that blue throat for so long. Maybe they wanted to deny me free food, but that blue throat, big point birds, and would have unlocked them, you know, extra eggs in the grassland. I think it would have been worth it, but not sure. Alright, looks like my opponent decided to lay eggs there. Still forcing me to, so they have 8 food, still forcing me to gain food if I want to win the end of round go here. Alright. There's no way. I gotta tuck the wood duck here. Yeah. That's way too late, partridge. So I had 6, so if I gain, yeah, so it looks like really really going on in here trying to win the end of round go. Again, definitely a standstill there, in terms of, you know, we just both kind of gain food and my opponent not playing more birds and delaying the development of their grassland. I think it's a question of, like, you know, like the opportunity cost. Does it cost me more or does it cost my opponent more? Alright. So round 4. Play through 2 birds, 3 more turns. Where is this game going? Not a strong finish. But I think I gotta pick up birds here, because my opponent is going to tug with their grassland, so I need to have cards in hand for tugging with the snow bunting. Oh, I also just realized this was before the update where you couldn't see your opponent's hands, so I didn't know how many cards my opponent has, so that also make it difficult. But I'm pretty sure my opponents do have cards in their hand at this point. I guess when in doubt, just play the bonus card and see what I could get. Okay, citizen scientist. At least I got 3 points off that. Not the worst. But it doesn't feel like that's enough to win the game here, honestly. Yeah, I was just gambling on my opponent gonna play a bird here. That's, yeah, they couldn't run the grassland because they're fill for all their egg spots, so I can safely play the bird and maybe draw cards again. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, that was the blue throat that really they should have played like many turns earlier. I think they were a little bit too caught up with the 3rd end of round go there, and still ended up not winning the end of round go. So that was a little bit unfortunate. So now, no question, they are going to lay eggs. So I need to have cards ready for cycling. Oh, I guess another thing I didn't think about, or I'm not thinking about, was the fact that I have the starling. So when I was gaining food, I guess I was actually making more points than I was thinking, because any unused food that I have in hand can be played, or can be cashed with the starling. So again, in some way, I came out on the upper hands, like in terms of that standstill, like for the end of round go there. But yeah, not terrific draw here. Yeah, that was pretty unfortunate. The only big birds that I can play now is the flycatcher. Alright, let's see. Oh, Protonotary, Wobbler, big point birds. Okay, so they have 7 egg spots in the forest. So potentially I can win the last end of round go here, so that can be quite good. I just need to lay eggs twice. So it looks like I need to play birds and then lay eggs twice. Again, my board really not looking that great, but I did win all 4 end of round goals, or I am going to win all 4 end of round goals, so that might help a lot. And my bonus card not bad with the bird counter there. Alright, there you go. Maybe I could cycle for some good cards here. Ooh, that I did not think about. So if I play the golden eye, I can definitely win the end of round go there in the forest. I think that would be worth it. Yep. Right, I think. So I can get 4 points. GoldenEye is 4 points, or at least 3 points. I only have 3 cavity. But laying eggs with my grassland is also only 3 points. Maybe potentially 4 points if I get grub from my flycatcher to cash on the starling. Definitely interesting, but yeah, I mean, there was really no better option there. Even if I take food, that would be, if I take food and tuck the cards, that would be 3 points, but I think it's more important to win the last end of round go here. So I either win that by laying eggs twice, or I play the golden eye and maybe lay eggs once. Yeah, I think that might be worth it. If I play the golden eye to secure end of round go, that's at least a 3 points, 6 point play, and then I lay egg to get a grub from flycatcher for cashing on the starling, so that's 4 points. Yeah, that could work. So I guess looking at this, even though I didn't really have an engine, but the points that I was making late game was pretty comparable to my opponent there. My opponent has a 6 points grassland, but they're netting like 4 points. And I think most of my round 4 turn has been netting more than 4 points as well. So in some way that pretty comparable. I guess another good thing about playing the golden eye is that I could spend the eggs in the donut to make sure I have enough space. But doesn't look like that's gonna be a problem. I guess if my opponent lay egg twice, that would give me 3 eggs, so I would need space in the donut. Alright. Ooh. Now there's another interesting consideration. Great Horn Owl, 8 points. Is that worth it? 8 points. But I will have to spend extra food to play it. Because I only have 1 rodent, and all the food that I spend are food that I'm not cashing on the starling, so that would eat up quite a bit of points. So 8 minus 2 eggs minus 4, that's 6 points. You know, maybe net 2 points, so that's not good enough. And interesting, my opponent was giving up grub, so likely they're gonna play bird last turn. So yeah, I think my best move gotta be playing the golden eye here for the end of round, and then getting extra 3 eggs from the cavity, and then cash the rest of the food to starling. Yeah, Alright, looks like I'm committed to playing the Golden Eye here. So that would secure my last and round goal. So looking at the food, so my opponent either is gonna play the wetland 3 grub birds maybe. Oh yeah, the common swift, that was so smart. Wow, that was a big point play too. So that was 10 point minus 2 eggs, so 8 points play there. Got a bunch of 2 power here. Yeah, I guess my board really definitely looked interesting. So I definitely remember the outcome of this game, but looking at this board a little bit, not sure if I saw that coming, but let's look at the score here. Just looking at the bar, looks like it's going to be pretty tight. I got some advantage in the end of round goes there, of course. But yeah, I ended up winning the game by 4 points. That was definitely a very interesting game. Like, I mean, looking at my opponent board there, definitely a stronger grassland setup with 2 tuck and draw, and then Bee Eater. Strong late game too with that common swift, and my board was just a little bit random. There was birds all over the places. I guess what really made up for it was the Dunnock and the Snow Bunting that kind of counter my opponent grassland a little bit, and then I have the bonus card of the bird counter that gives me quite a bit of points, and I think winning all 4 end of round goals also give me a pretty good lead and, you know, a slight edge for me to catch the game. I think maybe my opponent was also did a few slow moves there. Maybe the Gnatcatcher was a little bit slow to spend quite a few turns picking up food. That might have cost them the game a little bit. I think maybe they would have been better off like playing the Blue Throat earlier and just kind of give up on the 3rd end of round go there. But in any case, that was the game. I hope you enjoy watching this game. Thanks for watching. Again, this video is dedicated to the one and only Scare of Birds, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.